I feel that as an entrepreneur, it is important to not just have an entrepreneur experience, but also have an experience working in a larger organization, because you learn things that you can or cannot or should not do. And as you scale your organization, there's less room for error because you've experienced some of that in the past.
Welcome to the Never Been Promoted podcast and YouTube channel. I'm on a mission to help you cut the tie to all the things that are holding you back so you can unleash your entrepreneur. Welcome to another episode of Never Been Promoted, where we help you unleash your entrepreneur by the learnings and teachings of other entrepreneurs that have succeeded and or failed and are on a journey slightly ahead of you. And this will be a great conversation because some of the technology that our guest is working on is pretty cool. Shahrukh Zahir, thank you for joining you, the CEO at Right Fit Advisors. You want to take a couple of seconds to introduce yourself?
Absolutely, Thomas. Thanks for having me. I'm the CEO of Right Fit Advisors. We are a technical staffing firm based in Atlanta and serve the country nationwide. We are the first AI and machine learning recruiting firm that guarantees that we can help you find talent in 2 weeks or less. And while doing that, we will ensure that person we're going to find for you will increase productivity and create a culture in your organization that everybody would want to be a part of.
Maybe take a couple moments to set the stage of how you got to founding this company and becoming the CEO of the Right Fit Advisors.
So I started my first business when I was 17 years old, and in a mall, I was selling cell phone accessories at that point, and it was just a gig that I was going to do for a year because then I had to go to college, and I graduated high school early. So while I was doing that, it allowed me to understand and learn what communicating really meant and what listening really meant. And I did not know that over the years, I had developed this niche of understanding people and listening to people and providing solutions in a manner that people were able to relate to it and were satisfied. So from there, I started my wireless company, successfully sold it, jumped in corporate America, worked for AT&T, Verizon, led teams as large as 45, 50 people, and was successful there, but felt burnt out in my 20s and wanted to do something more. And one of the things I looked into was recruiting, and by not necessarily intentionally, in fact, when I thought of recruiting, I felt that meant HR and payroll, and that's all I knew. But as I looked into it, and at that time, it kind of sounded like a cliche that, I get to help people find jobs and help them make more money, and how impactful is that? And started doing that and saw success early on, to the point where until last year, I was managing a team in Los Angeles for an organization that had been still around for 20 years. But I decided to want to do things that I've seen and learned over the years, and wanted to automate it because I felt that not everybody operated in a manner that I did. But my goal was, could I actually apply this and create a process that anybody could make the same kind of decision, can see the same kind of success that I have, which is truly understanding people's needs and wants and really making sure that the places that they're going, that people are satisfied and are there long term. And that was one of the things I wanted to do. And when I went on the journey, that's how the AI and the machine learning component came along.
Maybe talk about that transition just a bit, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs, or want to be entrepreneurs, or somebody who's got a side hustle, their hardest step is leaving the corporate world. So talk to me just how you felt through that a little bit and you got into it.
At 17, when I started cell phone accessories, that was called Express Yourself, my little booth in mall. And that kind of ended up into a wireless kiosk business which expanded into multiple locations. And by the age of 24, I had 25 people on my own working in an organization that I was leading. And I was just 24 and I was seeing a lot of success. But at that time, I recognized that, hey, I still haven't gotten the degree that I really wanted to get. And I decided that where would I go with that organization and with that degree? I was like, hey, maybe I'll become a CEO of a Fortune 500 because I have this entrepreneur experience and I've seen success here. And with a degree, that will be my segue into the corporate America. And this is actually what I did when I went back to school for business admin. My goal was to get recruited to one of the places. And because of my retail experience, I was recruited by AT&T to work with for their retails, for the wireless stores across San Diego, which then allowed me to grow to the point where I became an area manager. It was essentially not a district manager, but a small territory that you had. And there was a title of a mentor where you mentored multiple people. And then I got recruited to that Verizon, which I then made that transition. But then working in retail and even at a corporate level where I was district sales manager and overseeing these operations, it was burnout. Just working long hours, working Black Fridays, and just making sure that you were just there and supporting people. And I still remember that year, the pictures that were taken of me through that year that were candid. I was just holding my phone or on my phone in most of them. And it was kind of a wake-up call for me is I'm still in my 20s. I should be traveling the world. I should be having fun. What am I doing? I'm just on my phone all the time, running a business. And the goal was to transition to a business or a career where there's a healthier work and life balance. And that was essentially the idea that allowed me to get there. But yeah, the reason I left entrepreneurship was simply because I was like, okay, well, I've done this well. I'm making good money. Somebody offered to acquire my company, and that was a lot of money for me when I was 24 years old. And I took the chance to go back to school.
Do you regret any of it?
Not at all. I feel that as an entrepreneur, it is important to not just have an entrepreneur experience, but also have an experience working in a larger organization, because you learn things that you can or cannot or should not do. And as you scale your organization, there's less room for error because you have experienced some of that in the past.
Do you remember that the first time someone handed you money for your idea?
I joke about this to this point that one of the days as I was growing at 17, 18, I was growing my enterprise, quote unquote. One of the locations that I was acquired and I was told by the mall that I had my location was, hey, if you have an opening in Tacoma Mall in Washington State, but it's an outdoor mall in Bellevue. I'm sorry, not Tacoma, but in Bellevue. It's called Redmond Town Center. And this town center is an open door mall, but if you want to go open your shop there, stand there for Christmas, I think you're going to do really well. And I was like, oh yes, I'm going to take up on this opportunity. And I still remember I was in the outdoor mall in December in Seattle, and it was cold, and I was wearing my gloves, and people would come in, and at that point, people would own a lot of Nokia phones, and they would want to chase their faces and their skins, all that stuff. And I would have to put my hand on a heater for a couple minutes so that I can move and function properly. And for $14.99. And I loved it. And now today I look back at it, it was like, you know what? I made $14.99 selling that one little piece of plastic, but it defined me as who I am. And I think it created a work ethic that now I carry with me to this day.
Let's dive in a little. So you've learned quite a few things along the way just by doing and experimenting, and you got your mindset right for it. What are you doing to prepare for the future?
A lot. So educating a lot of organizations on how to move forward and how to brace themselves, but also how to prepare themselves. Because every year there's a new set of workforce that enters the market, and every workforce every year is different than the year before, with motivations, with cultures, with personalities, with drivers. And it is extremely important for managers, owners, executives to understand the culture, the personality of their teams so that they can help them grow and help them become the best version of themselves at work. And there is a lot of continuous learning that is involved in that process. So we are equipped and we're continuously going to add value and documentation. We put out blogs and case studies and newsletters that we are reaching out to and sending to our clients and anybody that will want access to it. It's not exclusive to just our clients. That will allow them to learn and just be prepared to be successful.